Hello, Frisco ISD. This is a video to help you with understanding MacVia and the sources within MacVia. So we're going to be talking about research resources. We're going to be talking about MacVia. We're going to be talking about images. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. So anytime students in Frisco ISD are using online resources or information, collaborate with your campus librarian. These videos and resources are here as a starting point or as an extra resource, but your FISD librarians are your information experts, and we are all here to help you. So be sure and reach out to your campus librarian for additional information. All right, so we're going to be talking about how to use MacVia at the high school level. What is MacVia? MacVia houses all of our online resources for staff and students, including subscription databases, videos, links, ebooks, digital audiobooks, groups, and more. Um, I like to explain MacVia to students. MacVia is like Stonebriar Mall. So think of it like you're going to the mall. MacVia is the mall, and inside the mall are all these mini stores. When you go to the mall, you maybe are looking for a pair of pants. And so you know that some stores several stores might have that same pair of pants, and you might be looking for the pair of pants, and you might find it in multiple stores. However, sometimes there's a pair of pants that you are only going to find from a specific store. So sometimes you have to shop around at different stores to find that exact pair of pants that you want. Sometimes, I can find that, pair of pants in these four stores. So I'm just going to go, to the store I like the best. So the databases inside MacVia are the stores. So all the MacVia is the mall, and then within the mall there are the stores. So you are going to have to figure out which store or which database you want to go to get the information that you need for whatever it is. So, what are these databases? Databases are subscription services. They provide databases. There's different services, different platforms, different providers. But Frisco ISD subscribes to these different databases so that we can get quality information created for the different levels of students. So, there's databases for elementary, databases for middle, and then databases for high school. And that's because of the level of content in each one and the type of content too. So we have different databases at each level. So students, as they move up into high school, they are going to have even more access to more databases and more content. An important thing that you should understand is the content that's in the databases often is news or information that if you are looking for it out on the internet, it is going to be behind a paywall. But we subscribe to these services, so we are not going to run up against any paywalls. Um, the information that's in the databases in MacVia is also better content. The content in our databases is sometimes better than general web content, and it's there for staff and students to access. There are peer-reviewed and scholarly articles, journals, reference materials, all kinds of things in there that are generally better in MacVia, a better quality of sources than you would find on the web. The images in our databases are images that are copyrighted, but they have been under our subscription services and licensing agreement. They have been allowed that students can use them, and they're allowed to use them for academic purposes from our databases. Using the databases in MacVia also helps our students and staff be good digital citizens and operate in online spaces with academic integrity. Our databases, when we pay to subscribe to them, the creators of that content are also getting paid. So we know that we're getting quality information. And the content that is in the databases is otherwise copyrighted, but we have, under our licensing agreements with the database providers, we have the ability to use that information for academic purposes as long as we cite the source. So how do you log into MacVia? For most students, you are going to go to macvia.com, or maybe there's a link. You can link to it also in the student portal. It's also linked in Canvas. It's linked in multiple places, but students are most likely going to log in with they're going to put their school name, their 6-digit student ID, and then it is likely going to be their 8-digit birthday unless they've changed their password, in which case the student will need to know what their password is in order to access MacVia. Campus librarians can create groups and provide resources in groups for teachers and students. So, students and teachers, contact your campus librarian if there is a group resources that you would like assembled in a group for something you're doing. All right, so we're going to talk about in general citing sources. So in MacVia, which we're going to talk about different sources in just a minute, but there are citations that are provided. There's usually an easy cite button somewhere in the database, and then you will have access to APA, Chicago MLA, all the different citation sources will be in there. If you are using a website, you can use the Cite This For Me Chrome extension to cite, which should be on all student Chromebooks, to cite web sources. Images. There's a separate video for images, so I'm going to go through this here though in case you need it. Images. So in our databases, and these are some of the databases that have images, you'll notice this one here is a map. Citations are provided, and so when you are using images from the databases, you should be using a citation because that is part of using these sources with academic integrity, being a good digital citizen. If a student is going to use an image in a project, in a slides presentation, Google Doc, anything like that, the citation, you'll notice here's the citation, should be somewhere nearby that image as well. And you'll notice too, also in MacVia, we have pictures, videos, political cartoons, maps, diagrams, all kinds of things are in there. So you're going to find some really quality images. Google Images. If you need to go outside of our resources, students should be searching, and really non-academic use of Google Images is totally fine. But for academic, you really should use the sources and images in the databases. But if there's an image that you just have to have for something, you should definitely check when you do your Google image search. You can go to usage rights and change it to Creative Commons licenses, and then you're going to look for images that have been licensed for modification or use under Creative Commons license 0. And if you can't find, if that image doesn't have that, I would recommend that you do not use that image. So we're talking about Creative Commons licensing, Creative Commons License 0. There are websites and sources for high schoolers where they can find images that have Creative Commons License 0. These are some of them, and on the next document I'm going to show you, you'll see these linked. But you'll notice here, this image was taken from Pixabay, and this is the image attribution right here. So all of these websites provide this type of attribution. When you download the image, students should copy that, and that image attribution should appear somewhere near the image when you're using it. All right, so that is the end of our video, or sorry, that's the end of that slideshow, but I wanted to bring you over here to talk about different sources. So again, this is for high school. So we have online encyclopedias, and you'll notice here's a description, and then here's how you can use this information, and where can I get online encyclopedias, what databases have an online encyclopedia. Magazines. So again, here's a magazine, here's the description of the magazine, here's how you can use these in your research, and then here are databases with magazines. Reference and nonfiction ebooks. Here's a description, uses, which ones have them. News sources. News sources are ever changing and evolving in our current landscape, social landscape. So there are very old newspaper articles and things that have been digitized and added to the databases going back almost as far as newspapers have existed. And then there are additional now news articles and sources within some of our databases. So databases with news sources are listed here, and you'll find how you can use them here. If you're using news sources, we would highly encourage students and teachers to check the bias of any news sources you're using and make sure that you are using a variety of perspectives and viewpoints when you are using any sort of news sources instead of relying on a single source or a single story. And you can check not only their bias, but how accurate their fact checks have been. Both of these things together, it doesn't mean that you can't use something if a news source has a certain bias or fails a fact check. It's just making sure that you understand if you use that information, um, you are acknowledging that there may be bias attached to it, or that there may be factual information, or there may be information in there that has not been properly fact checked or isn't accurate. Something else in our database is academic and scholarly journals. And so you'll notice over here again, uses, databases, description. And then this breaks this down because a lot of times students don't understand that in our databases we have scholarly and peer reviewed. We also have trade journals, and then we have popular magazines and journals. And so this kind of helps us all understand what's the purpose of these, what's the look, who is the author, who is the audience for these, what's the language, how do they document their information, and then this gives you information on the difference between peer-reviewed and scholarly journals, and kind of helps break down what these different types of sources are in MacVia and in the different databases within MacVia. And then here you will notice too, we have information about images. This is information that we have separated out because sometimes students are just using images, or they're just using maps or things like that. And so you just need this information, but sometimes they're using this in conjunction with other information. And so we have all the information about images on here as well. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have learned a little bit about what MacVia is and what are the different types of sources within MacVia, and then how can you find those types of sources in MacVia. And again, if you need any assistance with this along the way, do not hesitate to reach out to your campus librarian. They're your information expert, and they will be happy to help you with any sources or anything within MacVia that you might need.